But let's go back to verse 13. Here's the big picture again. The one seated on the throne allowed Job to lose his property and children, not as a judgment, not as a penalty, not as God saying he shouldn't be rich. The big picture is God allowed Job to lose everything. Starting in verse 13, there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and a messenger came and said to Job, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding, and the Sabaeans raided them and took them all away, and they killed your servants, and I alone escaped. Here's a little truth. Satan can incite what we would call terrorists. The Sabaeans, Satan didn't do this, the Sabaeans did it. Why did they do it? Satan prompted them to do it. There is a lot, remember Satan came to kill and steal and destroy. Do you think all the wicked dictators and murderous people throughout history thought of all that themselves? Satan incites killing, stealing, destroying. And then verse 16, while they were still speaking, another came and said, the fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep. You know what? Satan can send fire from the sky. How do we know that? He did it right here. How do we know it's really? Because he's going to do it again in Revelation. One of the ways the Antichrist rules the world is he's going to have a false prophet that can call down fire by asking Satan to send down fire from heaven on his command. That is amazing to think about the spiritual realm like that. Verse 17, while they were still speaking, another came, and you know that he said, by verse 19, a great wind came from across the wilderness, struck the four corners of the house, it fell on the young people, and they're dead. Did you know what this says? Satan can send horribly destructive weather, and that sounds like a tornado. Just, you understand that? He's the prince of the power of the air. He's the God of this world. He has incredible powers over the people to incite evil. He has great power over nature. He's the one that tried to drown Jesus in the boat. I mean, you talk about flagrant attacks. Here's the Creator himself in a boat, and Satan tries to send a storm and swamp the boat and drown Jesus. If Satan will try and drown Jesus, can you imagine what he might try and do to us? You understand? He has great power. Okay, verse 20. Here's another big picture. The one seated on the throne is listening to the cries of our heart through all this stuff. And so Job arose, tore his robe. I mean, he didn't just sit there and say, this is interesting. He got involved. He arose. He tore his robe. He shaved his head. He fell on the ground. And he worshiped. And he said, naked came I from my mother's womb. Naked shall I return there. The Lord gave. The Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Verse 22, and all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. Here's a lesson. God was magnified through Job's cries, through his... Job didn't say, this feels great, oh, I love it. No, he wept, he cried, he moaned. But he chose to not sin against the Lord. You understand? The devil wants to incite us to not listen, to not watch, to not see life the right way, to not obey, to not sync our lives with the Lord so that he can dishonor through us the Lord. It's called grieving the Lord. It's called disobeying him. It dishonors him. Keep going. Next big picture. Look at chapter 2. The one seated on the throne allowed Job to suffer intensely bad times. I don't want to read all this. Go down to verse 7. Job went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with painful boils. So Satan comes, strikes Job with painful boils from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. Wow. Here's a little on-the-ground truth from that. Bad things can happen to good people in order for them to glorify the Lord. That's what Job's all about. Bad things happen to a good fella. God starts out saying he's blameless, upright, fears the Lord, and follows me. So none of that awful stuff happened because he was bad, disobedient, rebellious, out of step with the Lord. All that happened so God would be glorified. Can you see, if you don't understand that, you really have a problem. You say, what are you doing, Lord? What are you doing, Lord? But if you have that perspective, that the one on the throne can be trusted. Now, here, let's end.